Hiya folks. Someone asked the question of how do I get movement in a large number of plants without using wire? Well, obviously using wire is a good, easy option if you've got lots of plants, if you got a small amount of plants. But I understand the concern, and so we're going to try to answer that question today. Right here, it's a decent sized trunk, about 3/4 of an inch, and some relatively heavy wire was used to put movement in that trunk. But we want to do this with a large number of plants. So first of all, you have to consider the size of the stock material to be bent. The larger gauge that you have here, the heavier your material needed to bend the trunk, no matter what it is. If it's wire, if it's bamboo, if it's other materials. So what we're going to do is go over to my classroom and we'll show you some ideas. Okay? So walk with me. And as you can see here, we have some items in work. Little 4-tree elm. Little elm on a piece of lava rock. All wired, of course. Movement in that elm. Elm on a rock right there. That's on the rock. All of these were just worked on and put in these containers this season. So these are new. They're on the bench. Partial shade so that they can grow, and then we'll work on them next year. Another root over rock with the root grown elm. There's an elm there with a strange movement in the trunk. That was a rooted cutting from a large piece. And again, that's just a plant that I potted up this year, so it's actually in that, trying to grow, make its own roots. Root over rock, restrained with string and my necessary and prerequisite black tape. Root over rock. That was from a cutting, and it has some nice movement. And that actually, I believe, fell off of its rock. It didn't adhere nicely, so I rewired it, put some different movement in it, put it on this rock, and we'll see next season. Okay, Flight of the Phoenix. So anyway, we're going to walk over here to the classroom, as I said, and we're going to take a look at some thoughts and ideas about how we can get movement in lots of material. And we're walking. All right, to start with, I understand the question because I've got all of these right here, and I've been gradually taking them out. These are plants that were dug this year, potted up. They've rooted nicely, and some I'm using on rocks, some I'm using individual plantings, group plantings. Some I'm replanting in the ground. Of course, each item is selected for its own characteristics. Okay, so here's the classroom. These are my crepe myrtles. And what you see here is a bamboo mesh that I made. I taped it up with my lovely black electrical tape, and I've woven one plant in to show you how that works. Now, this is a weave. One bamboo is closer toward me on this side of the vertical piece of bamboo. There's another one behind it, so it's kind of like almost like a basket weave. Now, if you want it, you could have used two bamboo pieces in there, extended one out a couple of inches, and made a second enclosure. And of course, you could do that, which would give you more distance between the horizontal bamboo, which would give you a greater bend as the plant weaves back and forth. Okay, so this is one vertical bamboo shoot or stick with several horizontal bamboo sticks that's secured to that one vertical. Okay, this will lend itself to the tree getting older and much larger before it begins to bend. Okay, because the sticks are closer and they're only moved apart so far. Okay, basically, I guess you can say the diameter of the bamboo pieces themselves. Okay, now another way is to take a series of bamboo shoots or sticks and bend and weave your plant as you angle the bamboo into the ground. Okay, and that will give you movement also. The first thing to do is to take into consideration if you have any movement in your trunk already. Now, this trunk, it comes out from its roots, it's coming toward us, and that's natural to that plant. So what I did was put the bamboo in front of it, pulled it down, set another bamboo almost at the same angle as this first bamboo, but it's basically on the same plane entering the ground, but it's at a steeper angle. Okay, then I bent the tree backward across that. I took a second bamboo to secure it in place also. Okay, now this bamboo shoot back here, okay, is where the plant wraps around and comes back toward us. This bamboo is what holds it down to keep it from riding up on this third bamboo shoot. And this bamboo shoot, the fourth bamboo, locks it in place, if you will. And if you want it, you could use more bamboo, and you can make the angle pretty much anything you want. Okay, and if you wanted to, once the shoot came over the last piece, you could tie it up, you could wire it up, or whatever. But the idea is to get away from tying things and wiring, because you have a whole lot of it. Now, depending on what you want to do, you can cut the bamboo shoot off, you know, at an angle, or, you know, so high up from the ground, and then use the series of bamboo for your next plant. And depending on how thick your trunk is on your material, of course, you'll need a thicker piece of bamboo, and you'll need to push it farther into the ground to secure it. Okay, so that is one of the easiest way to put movement into your tree. And again, if you're talking about a couple of hundred trees that you want to get movement in, generally speaking, the first two, I guess the first two angles are the ones that you're really concerned about. Coming out from the base of the trunk, and then that next turn. Everything above that is either going to be cut off, cut back, so that your trunk is even larger, appearing at least, with your foliage. So you don't have to be so concerned about how much material you have up top, except to get your movement in. You're not really concerned about girth at this point, okay? Because if it came to girth, a lot of this is going to be pushed out of the way anyway. So after that first season or two, maybe, you're going to be taking this out, using your little seedling, your root stock, for whatever you're going to do. Put it on a rock, separate planting, whatever. Now, the soil here is sand, okay? So there's no real growing potential here. So unless I fertilize and water really heavily, my plants are going to grow very, very slowly, okay? Unless it just happen to be one of those type of plants that, you know, just eat garbage for, you know, its meal, then it'll grow anywhere. Like these crepe myrtles here, you know, they do pretty well. But that elm, my trident maples, my Japanese green maples, I really have to supplement those with a lot of nutrient and organic material right around the plant if I want it to really, really grow. And so in this case, a lot of times what I do is add mycorrhizome powder to the root mass, okay? And that seems to help. I've got some pretty good trident maples in here right now, 2 inches, 2.5, 3 inches, and it's just growing in this sand. And every once in a while I'll throw in some granulated fertilizer, whatever I happen to have. Triple 10, triple 13, it doesn't matter. I'm just growing trunks right now when it comes to these tridents in this poor, poor soil. So your soil makes a difference too on how long you'll need to restrain your plant in this method. And of course, unlike wiring your plant into a given position, this does not really break the cambium layer as severely as wire does. So it's going to take a bit more time overall for this plant to take that shape. So you have to be pretty careful about moving your set once it's done. So when you take your bamboo, place it in the ground and start to set your angle, get some pretty severe angles if you can, okay? Because some of that is going to spring back out. And so you want to get movement. That's what this exercise is about, getting movement in these trees at an early stage. And again, this setup right here, okay, let's do it this way. Okay, maybe you can see that. I've got this set up here, okay, and they're just probably like a ½ inch apart, okay? You get a little bit of movement. But for this plant, as that plant is woven in and out of these bamboo horizontal bamboo poles here, stakes, this tree would have to get much older before any of this movement really makes any difference, okay? So what you can do is take another set, move it away from this to wherever you want, okay? Secure this horizontally to the next so that everything does not flex one away from the other, okay? And then once you've done that, you start building your set, okay? It's easier for you to build it out here as you're planting rather than you trying to build it and then weave in between that. So what you do now, you put your first, now of course there's a horizontal piece at the bottom here to secure here, and then higher up, secure that. Then you put your next horizontal piece in like that, secure it to on both ends, secure it here. You bring your plant from whatever side you started, bring it over to this side, okay, either above it or down with your first one, depending on what you want. And of course, you wire it in, tape it in, or whatever you want to do. I use this black tape. That's fine, but you got to get it in there tight, because the heat and the water, if it's not really tight and secure, it may let go. So use whatever you want to secure it with. Then take your next level, you put that up. Of course, you're going back this way for your next movement. And then you just keep back and forth, back and forth. And that will give you some movement also. And of course, if you choose, once you are coming from whichever level you want, from your horizontal on your second bar, in between, either take it up or move it down and back across onto your first side, and you can always set in an intermediary stake, like in between here somewhere, to give you an anchor point. So there's anything that you want to do, you know, you could just use any old tree branch sticks that you may have. I've got plenty of Florida plum trees, wild plums, you know, American plums, Hall plums, Chickasaw plums, and they make nice sticks. I've got plenty of crepe myrtles. You have to put the crepe myrtles in upside down, and even then they may still root. So if you cut the crepe myrtles fresh, you don't want to put them in with the normal downside in, because they may root on you, and then of course you got a big old crepe myrtle growing where you had your maples, elms, or whatever else. So there you have it. You know, I've got these plants out here just to show you, you know, that that's how that could work for you. And everything is going to be time consuming, whichever way you choose to go. So do some of your plants in wire, put some in the ground like that. And if you ever listen to me seriously, I advise you don't do that, because I'll tell you another way you could put movement in your plant is to break it. You don't want to do that. Now, I've got plants that fell off the bench on their heads and broke their necks, and guess what? I put black electrical tape on them right where they were. Why? Because that's movement to me. If they survive, then I've got something to talk about. I've got something unique. If they don't survive, guess what? They already fell off the bench and the damage was done. So I can't secure every tree to the bench, and neither would I prefer trying. And that's one reason why I don't wire plants in, because a lot of times they'll just fall right out of the pot. The pot will flip over somewhere else and not break. Just happened yesterday. So I'm good to go with that. Well, at any rate, I don't know if I want to work. I don't know if I want to play. But I do know this. My teaching time is done for the day. All right. Have a good day.